We are live, so I guess it records. And so, welcome everybody for this AGM, this General Assembly of Members 2016, even if we are already in 2017. Tonight is a special night as we have the election results that we will give you at the end of the AGM so that you stay till the end of the movie, actually. And so what we're going to talk about this time at the AGM, it's quite classical. We'll talk about the past, about 2016 report, what we did and what happened. We'll give a few figures about members. Then we'll talk about 2017 financial budget and what was done with the money from last year. Then we'll announce the schedule from next year. And finally, we will announce the results of the elections. So right now, to talk about the past, even if it's someone of the future, welcome Mr. Colin Beck. Colin, you to present what we did this season.
Rightio, sorry, I'm slightly unprepared. We're talking about what was new in 2016. Well, we had classic luge and street luge were merged into one category, just named luge. And that seems to have decreased or reduced the decrease in participation that was happening in those two categories. And it looks like that the number of participants has been, it was 89 in 2016, but there were only four races with four riders with 4 races or more, and only 2 had 6 races. So still fairly low participation, but hopefully it won't go lower. We introduced the Masters, 35 years and up. It looked to be a reasonable success with 53 participants. But again, as with luge, only 4 riders raced 4 races or more. So it's not a very deep level of participation in Masters. The other new thing we did in 2016 was we changed the distribution of points for WQS races compared to World Cup races, basically giving more weight to WQS races, increasing their importance in the rankings calculations. But we still had 7 World Cups, or the riders who won most World Cups won the title. So World Cups was still the most, by far the most important issue there. And we implemented continental rankings for the first time in a proper way in 2016 and awarded continental champions. Should I continue on, Coma?
Well, maybe we should post actually the document we have prepared.
Okay, I can do that. I can screen share that. So give me one moment.
And it will be better looking than our sad face due to the tiring weekend we had.
Hang on one moment. Okay, so instead of my face, you should see a document.
Yes.
So for the 2016 season, we kept our objectives the same. Okay, so instead of my face, a document.
We have a little feedback, and Lee, you should turn off your microphone, else we can see you're driving while attending the AGM, which is not good.
Okay, so we kept our objectives.
Feedback, and Lee, you should turn off your microphone, else we can see you're driving while attending the AGM, which is not good.
Okay, so we kept our objectives.
Feedback, and Lee, you should turn off your microphone, else we can see you're driving while attending the AGM, which is not good.
Okay, it appears that Lee's microphone is off. Okay, so we kept our objectives.
It's kind of looping. Someone should turn off.
I'm gonna stop sharing the document. That may have been causing a problem.
How about also everybody who's not speaking can turn off their microphone also? correct.
It's kind of looping. Someone should turn off.
I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh, I think I know what the problem is.
How would also everybody who's not speaking turn off the microphone also?
Okay, I believe I've solved the problem. It was a problem at my end. So I'll just go back to that screen share.
The never-ending day.
A never-ending day.
Just to confirm.
Apologies, everybody that's tuning in.
This isn't lip synced.
All right, I think we're back on track. So for 2016, we kept our objectives the same. The IDF rankings and titles were basically designed to reflect the performance of the athletes as much as possible, and not just their availability to travel or their amount of money to do so. And we increased the competitive selection around World Cup status so that event organizers strive for improvement and reward year after year. And that's actually also going to be a bigger theme for 2017, but we'll get to that shortly. And we attempted to create more regional opportunities for riders to race. We had quite a lot of WQS races throughout the world. But some of our objectives we didn't quite manage in 2016. Our communication in general was not as good as it could be, and our sponsor chasing was unsuccessful. We did try throughout the year to look for major sponsors and minor sponsors, but at least at the IDF level, as opposed to individual event level, we have not yet managed any sponsors. Any other board members have any thing to add to that?
Well, about the sponsor chasing, we will explain the issues we had to the new team, and maybe they'll be able to solve it. Right now, the problem is that we don't have a real product in terms of something to sell to company. We have to build more what we can sell, actually. But that would be a great discussion to have, and I guess the AGM is not the best place to have a long discussion about that. So that would be my final word.
Okay. And so now we move to a few of the bad things that happened in 2016. We had some safety issues at Killington. We were lucky that there were actually no injuries or anything bad happened from those safety issues, but there was a potential, and that was a concerning thing. During the Euro Tour, we had issues with the timing system, and we also had some pretty bad weather during that tour that put a bit of a dampener, quite literally, on things. And we had some last-minute cancellation of events throughout the year. Pikes, Salsadar, and La Violenta, which was not good. And also in the final World Cups in Brazil, we had a fairly poor attendance, which wasn't a good way to end the year.
Okay. So I guess that was 2016. Maybe now we're going to talk about the champions. Maybe Patrick Switzer could tell us a word right now about the 2016 champions. Pat, are you here? Pat Switzer?
We will unmute. Here we go. So big congrats again to our very international champions. As you can see, we've got Carlos, who won the Open DH from Brazil. Carlos Paxiao. Junior DH was Alex Charlson from Canada. Women DH, Emily Pross from America. Masters, Benjamin Hay from Australia. Luge Abdul Madzan from Malaysia. Very proud. These guys, killed it the whole year. They went all around the world and raced their heart outs all the way to the end with Carlos making the win in the last event. We also have our continental champions, which is quite a mixed group. It's pretty amazing to see so many names that we know and new names within the circuit.
Maybe we won't go through all the names, but you can say a few words about the newcomers, like the European champion. did you happen to see these guys racing, Pat?
I don't believe I did.
Oh, Lee Cation, we have your microphone on. Sorry. Thank you, Lee. Come on, Pat.
No, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to see many of these people racing last year, but happy to see a few names popping up. For instance, Benjamin Hay taking not only the Masters Championship, but actually the Australian Open. And what is this? You have him under luge as well. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a big thing to be able to honor the continental champions, not only just the regular champions, but to show how diverse things are around the world. And we look forward to honoring them again in the next year.
Well, the interesting thing is that it gives the opportunity to people who have a little bit maybe support from sponsors or personal money and who don't really travel the world to show to their brothers and national friends how good they are. And in the case of Troy Grenier was winning the North American champion. He traveled last year, well, 2 years ago, but not really last year. And still, he showed that he was really consistent and strong. And we might see him again this year. Giorgio Garino is a young guy, as he was a junior a year ago, if I remember well. So it's a really good sign for the future. And we have another case in South America where Douglas just took the title again, and Douglas wasn't a junior last year, as I remember. So it was quite different kind of champions through continents, but we feel that we will put more light on the continental rankings and the continental championship. Maybe we should just have a look at the 2016 events. Well, it's the past, so we're going to go fast. We had actually 18 races in 2016. That was 7 World Cups, sorry, and 11 WQS. It's the smallest, I would say, season we had so far, as we are trying to reduce the number of races to have better races, and we will see that on the 2017 schedule. Now I'm going to say a few words about the number of members. At the 1st of January, our database was saying that we had 1,700 members from 60 different countries. So whatever this number means, it's a drop compared to last season, where we had over 1,900 members in the database. It's mainly due right now to the minor number of races, actually, but we know there will be a big drop and a bigger drop next year for various reasons. First of all, the country that hosts the most of our members, which is USA, will have only one race, and it will have a mathematical effect on the number of members. The second reason is we are having a crisis in the industry right now, and we have a bit less participants and support of our riders. That's a thing. So we're expecting a real drop next year into the number of members. The second figures I wanted to show are some interesting figures. If you can see the presentation now, we have about 1,700 members in the database, but actually if we count the payments we received, we have 1,430. So this difference comes from the fact that it's been hard to maintain our database up to date because of PayPal API. I won't go into the details, but some technical stuff where we don't get the information properly when people don't renew their payments. So we have a few members in our database that shouldn't be active, actually, and they're stopped already. But the most interesting number is maybe the number of races. So if you see it on next page, I don't know who's showing the presentation, maybe Colin? If you can show next page of a presentation. No, nobody. Okay. Oh yes, here we are. The number of races is the number of people who attended at least one race in the season. And as you can see, we are facing a drop as well. So that's something we are really considering. We've been increasing the scene so far till 15, and last year was kind of a drop. So that will be something we will have in mind for the future. Is it a big issue, or isn't it a big issue to have less participants? It is not only related to the number of races, and we know it has. We had 18 races, and we had 16 in 2013. So that's not really the explanation. So now we're going to go to the financial reports. All those figures are available if you want to have some more details. Of course, I can be available later, but we got to move on the financial report, and for that I'm going to ask our treasurer if he's at home now, and his colleague, so Lee Cation has a treasurer, and Dave Robertson was in charge of the accountancy to present the financial report from 2016 and the budget from 2017.
At this point, could I just step in with a short question that we've had from a loyal viewer at home who's asking, will this presentation that we're presenting, the slide deck, be made available to our members?
Of course it will, as it's always been during our AGM. So there will be a link to that document on our website, and maybe in the comment of the YouTube channel, even at the end of our presentation. I think we would go rather on the website, as it's a document for our members rather than for the world, but we are transparent and have nothing to hide. So yes, it will be available. Lee, if you put your microphone on, you can be able to present the financial report.
Yeah, I think what's more appropriate is I was the face of the treasury, but Robbo did most of the heavy lifting. So I think it would be more appropriate for Robbo to comment on this. This is more his expertise. He did a great job at it. I want to thank him for all the support.
Oh, yes.
Sure. Okay, so for 2016 year, generally speaking, the IDF ran an operating surplus of $7,271 US. That's the second year we've done that, and it's what we'd like to continue to do. We're pretty protective of how we spend members' money, and we're quite open about how we do that in a nice line-by-line fashion. I think that's something that the world body, well, international skateboarding has missed, certainly over the years, but it's something that we're really forward about. So in regards to our income, certainly and still primarily our income comes from membership fees. That's the nature of how we've set up the IDF. That's somewhat intentional. We're a membership-based federation, and our members own our assets and our money, and all of our intellectual property. So that's how we operate. In the 2016 year, we did $43,000. This is all in US dollars. Membership income, and certainly sanction fees coming in 16,250 is another big, significant area. And some additional timing and racing services where the IDF had provided additional service to racers over and above what's expected, and we would take some compensation for that. Certainly not up to the cost of providing that, but that's not what we're about. We're about sort of providing the best races, the best services that we can. That created a gross profit of $63,000. That was the revenue that the IDF brought in, and the operating expenses, as you can see below. There's nothing dramatically interesting about that, but we'll touch on a few things. Certainly advertising and marketing at $1,700 or nearly $1,800. That was not a high amount, but it's something that we've taken on with a polling that we've done with our membership base. And you'll see further on in the budget for 2017 that we've allocated a significant amount of resources towards that particular area. The awards and trophies and prize money coming at just over $10,000 US. That's something that some board members believe in and some don't. Certainly we get mixed responses from our membership for that. But certainly, I mean, that was certainly pushed through. Nothing too unclear there. So if we look at, there's some relatively basic fees. Everyone can sort of see that that's watching it at the moment. Looking at the bigger ones, certainly the timing equipment. This year was a year where we had to regenerate some of our assets, fix a lot of our hardware in our timing system. This was as a result of just the general wear and tear. This is, believe it or not, what it costs to maintain equipment like that on a yearly basis. And there's a few things there where we had to acquire to fix some of the hardware issues, certainly that we had in Europe, and we'll continue to do so. Travel and airfares, we spent $13,000 sending IDF representatives to events to help out those events, to make sure they run smoothly, to assist event organisers, and to be on the ground for riders and officials. Oh, we've lost that section. We'll go forward anyway. So less operating expenses of $55,000. We ran a surplus of $7,271. That's not a big surplus, but it's something it's an amount we're comfortable with. The IDF is certainly not a bank. We can't go and lend money around the place, so we do need to run with some sort of a buffer to look forward for the future, for any shocks that come up or any opportunities that appear.
Yeah, and that 7,000 budget was asked to our members about what we should do with it, and we announced 8,000. Finally, we have 7,200, which is kind of the same, and so it will be allocated to communication for next year, as voted by the members.
Yes. So, looking at generally the main facts of all that, if we go on to the next slide, yeah. So we put a certain amount of money into our timing equipment. After having a controversial, but in the end, correct result, I think that the Mount Kira World Cup, the first World Cup of the year, we ended up instituting a finish line system to make sure that we're not just accurate, but more accurate in real time, and we don't have any controversial results, hopefully. Certainly some money was spent on transponders, antennas, and various other hardware. Prize money, the total prize money itself was $8,000. In the budget, it's lined at just over 10, but that includes trophies, memorabilia, and freight. We send all around the world for that. And as Coma touched on before, the $7,200 surplus, as voted by the poll, we used as the basis of a communication budget, certainly at the figurehead events, but to try to certainly build more of a story and create more of a product going forward for the IDF. And hopefully this is something then that becomes more valuable to sponsors and the like, because certainly our biggest issue is having the skills in to generate that story. That's not what we're certainly experts at, but there are people that do that quite well. We run and administer sporting bodies, but communication is something we've lacked in the past, so we've devoted a bit more money to that going forward. We've also translated the rules into Spanish and Portuguese, because that's quite important for our developing areas, and it's quite a significant area of our membership base, and hopefully that helps our communications with those areas of the world. Certainly going forward, it'd be nice to maybe this year allocate a little bit to maybe add some Asian languages to that, but we'll look at that certainly with the new board. And the travelling costs, we've remained relatively consistent from 2015, 2016 with our travelling costs. Certainly no blowouts there. Going towards, if we move that along, one more slide.
Well, that's the 2017 budget. Maybe I should comment it a little bit, as I was the one who prepared it. The main fact is that about the incomes, we forecast the fact that we'll have a bit less payments this year, so it will be a bit less incomes to get on the bank. But we, of course, had our 2016 surplus. So I made that budget a few weeks ago. So yeah, figures are not exactly what we have now on reality, but that's a budget. That's why it's like that. On the outcomes, I would say mainly two things. We look at the last line. We decided to put a huge amount of money, considering our budget, into communication. We have heard you, so we have 8,000 from last year, and we will add another 6,000 so that we get a proper communication and promotion of the sport. That was our biggest failure, I would say, this year, and we want to correct that. The second thing is we would have enough money to buy a second timing system. We've been working with Colin especially on another timing system that would give a few other services, a few different services with a slightly different technology, where we wouldn't be relying on radio communication actually. So we've been studying that. If the new board is in favor of having a second timing system, we have the funds to operate that. Apart from that, we would be able to offer some prize money again to the champions. But I guess that will be discussed once again, as every year, because it's always been a controversial subject. What I put in the budget for 2017 is the ability to award the world champions and the continental champions with a slightly amount of money. That's something to be discussed, of course. But just this is the picture we had for next year, a global budget of about $60,000, and that was without any sponsor as an income. So we should be okay for next year. But we have to keep in mind that there's a rolling thing with the IDF membership, and that brings our income. We might be in a less favorable position in 2018, so I would advise the next team to be wise about money and not spend everything we have in 1 year, as you stated it, Robo. I think we can go now on the presentation of the 2017 schedule, and that would be Maga to present next year's season.
Okay, so this season we're going to have 4 races starting for the Asian Tour. So we start with Australia, with the World Cup in Newtons, 1 WQS in the Philippines, keeping it high, another World Cup in China, the Silk Road Challenge, and 1 extra WQS for the first time in South Korea. Then moving on, we have the first event of North America, which would be in Mexico, Laguna Downhill, which would be a WQS. And then to start with the South American Tour, there will be a new event in Peru, the Yacuraimi, which would be also a WQS. A second one in Brazil, the APAC Championship. And then followed by 2 in Colombia. One would be a WQS, La Leonera, and Festival de la Bajada, which is still to be confirmed, which it's possible to be a World Cup. And then the tour will move to Europe, again with 4 events, 2 World Cups in Austria, 1 in Austria, Kings Gate and Kosakov in Czech Republic, followed by 2 events in Italy, Verdicchio and Teolo, which will both be a WQS. And then the North American, 2 North American races, the Apex Man Challenge in Canada and Killington as a World Cup in the United States, which would finish the calendar a little bit early in September. Yeah, so that's pretty much the whole schedule for 2017.
Thanks, Marga. I'd just like to add there that the big change that we implemented for 2017 is to put the South American Tour in between Asia and Europe, to squeeze it in there instead of being at the end of the year. And that shortens the racing year a lot, which I think is good for everybody. It gives at least us some time off at the end of the year to prepare, instead of like every year we never have time to really get done with the things we need done before the next year starts. And I think it will be good in general for the race season to get it done a little quicker. And it was good for the South Americans to get in there earlier as well. So moving on, what do we have?
Well, next, I guess we have results of the election, actually, or no, just a few words about the number of races we will count, maybe. Colin, a few words.
Yes. Okay. So again, we're changing very slightly the calculations for how the world rankings will be determined. We're basically reducing the number of races that are required to minimize the amount of travel from riders that are required. In 2016, it was necessary for people to go to at least for open skateboard, it was necessary for people to go to 3 continents in order to maximize the amount of points. Next year, or this year, it will only be 2 continents. So it will be the best 6 results in open skateboard with a maximum of 4 World Cups. And so in women's and juniors and masters and luge, it's a slightly reduced number of races required, 5 results with a maximum of 3 World Cups. So it's just 1 less, but the big difference is, as I said, it means you really only need to go to 2 continents rather than 3, and that is a big change.
Okay, maybe we can also announce the results of the elections now. Before you display the results, I want to apologize about the bad looking of the next page. We had to do quick as the voting just ended when we started the AGM. But right now we know that we had 253 voters. That is slightly the same number as we had the last election in 2015, actually. Colin, can you display the results now so there's no suspense anymore? Here we go. So the 7 elected members are Magga McWhinney, and I want to congratulate Magga, who's been working hard for the last years and will still be in, and thank you to stay on the boat, Magga. We will have Mike Jarrett as well, and we are super happy to have Mike Jarrett, who has lots of skills in organizing things and getting things done properly. We will have continuation with Zach Maytum, who has decided to stop racing completely this year to dedicate his life to IDF, and thank you, Zach. We will have Federico Barboni, who's a legend in Italy and in Europe and has a lot of experience in organizing a federation, as he is the one who built the Italian Downhill Federation, and is close to the IOC, of course. We will have Billy Miners. That's really interesting that Billy, who has so much experience in racing and organizing things, so much experience in the industry as well, is going to come to the board, and I want to congratulate him as well. And even if Patrick Switzer stepped back from his position, oh, sorry, I forgot Max Vickers. Yeah, but Max was already in the team, actually. For me, as Max has been handling our communication in the last month, I would say, and be an intern on this season. So sorry, in my head, Max was already in the team with the previous period. So yes, we will have Max Vickers, and that will be a huge asset for the IDF in order to improve our communication. And I think we are on the good path with what he has already done. And the last but not the least, so would be Tamara Parado, which is Patrick Switzer's wife, actually, if you don't know it. So we stay in the same family, and the Downhill family. And we are really happy to have 1 more woman. It means we will have 2 women within 7 members, which is fairly a good news for everybody. I feel really sad for the 6 other people who candidated and were not elected. Still, I want just to remind everybody that in the IDF, it's as much the people who do things than the one who decide things that are important, and maybe the first category is the most important in our non-profit structure. So really, Travis, Max Caps, Carl Zambrano, Marco Vidales, Rachel, and Mateus, we more than welcome to help the team attend the meeting. Just remember that Marco Vidales, for instance, has been a volunteer for the last 4 years, actually, for the last 4 seasons. He went on voting last time and wasn't elected, and still he stayed a volunteer and helped us. I hope he will continue in the next season. But I want to thank him personally for being a candidate. Rachel, who is a bit younger, just came with new energy, and I hope she will bring the ideas she has in mind to the table as well. Mateus was a really good winning guy in Brazil and the organizer of Mega Grand Prix and this year's race in Brazil. Will be more than welcome as well with his business skills and all the capacity he has to have things done in proper time. He's a really organized guy. Same for Carl. I'm personally saying hello to Carl. I would have liked Carl to be in just to represent Asia a bit more in our board members. I know Carl is a really skilled people, and I hope he will be considered as a board member, even if we have no voting rights, as Barry has been a really involved volunteer, or Marco as well. And of course, I hope that Max, with all the culture of downhill racing he has and all the crazy ideas he's able to have, will put a little bit of fun into this serious season. So congratulations to the new team. We will meet.
I think we missed Travis. We want to shout out to Travis for
sorry,
attempting. Big thanks to all the people that did run. It takes a lot of cojones to put yourself out there and sometimes lose. So we hope all those people that didn't make the board, they get to participate and still be a part of the decision making.
Certainly, just want to jump in here. Certainly with some of those people we're referring to, in terms of our members, you're going to see these people this year at different races. They're going to be working inside the IDF. You're going to see Carl certainly at the races throughout Asia. It's quite important that we have local people in these regions on the ground that we can send to these events that understand the culture and understand the culture of the IDF. And certainly that's part of our wish to decentralize some of those jobs to those regions. In that sense, you'll see Marco and Mateus at events throughout South America representing the IDF. These are certainly people that you'll see with boots on the ground. And we're excited they're going to be doing that for us, or for the new board, ideally going forward.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, any other comment, my friends? Maybe. Yeah.
Do we need to talk about why Festival Bada is unconfirmed?
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Lee. Can you say it again?
Did we need to talk about why Festival de la Bajada is not confirmed?
Well, Festival de la Bajada is not confirmed, actually, because of financial issues that we had on the last edition, and we don't want to reproduce on the next season. And right now, we didn't find an agreement with the organizers so that everything's get in order in time. And of course, for the respect of our members, we don't want to, and for the other organizers, award a new event, a new World Cup event without washing the past. So that's why we're unconfirmed right now, and we hope to deal with this really soon so that everybody gets prepared for the next season.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe we have some questions on the chat. If not, it would be a shame, but I hope it will be.
I've been monitoring the chat, and no, we don't have any questions. We just had the one question before from Chris McBride about the availability of the presentation that we've just given, and we've answered that. So, no.
Yeah, I just want to precise that I made a joke about Zach Maytum. Zach Maytum will race this year again. It's just that he wasn't able to attend the meeting and I had to punish him somehow. But just for his fans, yeah, Zach will be on the tour again. Don't worry.
Hey, I think this is a good time to take a quick second to thank Colin, Robbo, and Coma for being the founding members of the IDF and doing the majority of the heavy lifting behind the scenes all the time. Robbo even started as a volunteer on the board before he entered the board. And I think you're going to see more effort from these people in the future, but more from behind the scenes. So just a big congratulations to those three guys for putting in 4 years of their free time into the IDF. And it's been a pleasure to collaborate with you guys and the rest of the board.
And that also includes you, Lee.
Yeah.
Thanks for
exactly. That also includes Lee. He's in exactly the same position, having dedicated 4 years of his life. Thank you, Lee.
And just for the story, because now it's kind of history, Lee was the first one to say yes when I called him 4 years ago to say, hey, I think we have to create something new here. He was the first one to say, yeah, I believe in what you say in the project. And I want to thank him for that. It's been a great adventure and a great human adventure. Thank you, everybody.
And Azra, I'd like to shout out to Azra for laying a lot of the original foundation for what we still use today and how we move forward today. So Robbo and Colin put a lot of effort into Azra over the years, and a lot of that experience came to the IDF, and we were very lucky to have that.
And we're really happy to work still with Azra and James Hopkin, and we don't forget that Azra founded partially the IDF at its beginning when we had to buy the timing system, which was really a crucial point. So thank you, Azra. Whoever you were in Azra, Haggy, James, Robbo, Colin, Maga, and of course, I want to thank also the riders. I've been really ticky,
patient.
And a bit joking, our riders, I think about Zach and Pat, who could give a little bit less time than the others because they were racing. But I want to thank them for the ideas, the inputs they had, and all the support they gave when we were in difficult situation on events or in between events. Thank you, guys, and I'm happy that Tamara will bring the family thing from Pat. I think it's time to say goodbye.
We got a question on the
We have a question.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, we have a question from Abdul. He's asking about whether the IDF would introduce the free ride category at IDF events in order to boost participation. And if we did that, would free riders have to become an IDF member in order to join the event? I think that's something that has happened already at quite a few events. There's a free ride usually just on the first day of the event, and in that situation, usually the people who are just participating in the free ride aren't required to be IDF members. It's a question as to whether free riding should be part of the IDF, in that the IDF was really organised around racing. So I'd put that to the other board members, what they think about that.
Yeah. Sorry, you going, Lee?
Yeah, I was going to just say races are free to have a free ride event as part of the weekend. All we ask is that the free ride is held on a separate day and doesn't really slow down or conflict with the main event, the race. So we do think that free ride is hugely important and could bring more numbers to our events. We think it's a little bit separate because there's no leathers involved, there's no timing involved, there's no race. It's really quite wide open. So that's really up to the organizer.
Yeah, it's just important to us that we don't dilute the main event, but we're certainly there to work with organisers to increase the participation in their event, to help their budgets out, to broaden the marketing horizons for them. And, the IDF's always quite flexible on stuff like that. We'll certainly work with anybody to assist in successful running their events. So free ride may be an aspect of that, but as long as it doesn't dilute what the IDF is trying to do and the significance of the occasion for the races, certainly we're relatively open to those discussions.
I have one question that is come through Facebook actually, because the member couldn't comment on his mobile phone. So I will say it. Since ridership was down until 16 and is projected to be down until 17 as well, what will the IDF do to bring in new riders? I would give a short answer and will let the future express themselves. I think one of the ideas is to have new events. It's also important that you don't get bored because you've done 3 or 4 times the same events. And this year we're bringing a race in Korea, which is a premiere. We're having a World Cup in China, and so it's new places to discover. We're having some new races in Brazil and Peru. I think in Canada we will have quite a few new races this year, and I hope that's one idea. The second idea I say would be, of course, to promote outside our core market, our sport, and I'm sure Max will help us a lot on that. Anybody else have any comment?
Well, yeah, our communications plan for this year will help. New board members will help. New events will help. Integration of free rides into the weekend will help. Yeah, I mean, we understand that bringing in new people is very important, and we want to collaborate with the freeride and luge and other communities to bring in new riders.
It's also a fairly important thing to make it not necessarily new people, but the people already within racing, to make it easier for them to race. Now, you don't have to go to as many World Cups. There's the World Cup season is compacted into a shorter time of the year, so riders have the chance to go to school or have a job during that time, things like this, that just makes it easier for people to be able to be part of it.
Or be a continental champion also. That was new for us last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that we move the South American tour to the middle will also help in regards of attendance in South America and making it a little bit shorter the whole season for riders to go, so you still have a big break to work to build for the next season.
Yeah, shortening the tour, less events to have to attend also. Yeah.
I think we don't have any other question.
Yeah, there's one more here on the YouTube channel. It says, will there be any work this year to secure sponsors outside the industry? It seems we could greatly benefit from support from the outside as far as securing money for more events and larger prizes.
Yeah, so that was discussed earlier in the AGM. That's something obviously we always want, everybody wants. It's not a simple answer, but we're certainly devoting resources and time this year to improving the product and the story of the product, because that's really what you're selling. And that's been difficult over the years. Certainly it's a challenge in our sport to do that outside of industry. It's a challenge in any sport to acquire the financing outside of their industry, unless you're the Olympics or international football. But it's certainly something that we're throwing some money and time at this year.
But we're super open to attracting sponsorship. You have to cast a really wide net, and you have to have a lot of people working on it. So the gentleman or the lady who posed the question, we'd love to collaborate with you and use some of your contacts you might have, or any of the other board members, new or old, any of the other existing members. They're involved with businesses. Their parents have businesses. They work with businesses. So if you have some ideas of people we should be collaborating with or should pitch our 2017 year to, then please let us know.
We have a question from Frank Williams, actually, on YouTube, asking, will the IDF consider adding new disciplines such as strike or inline? Well, first, there is an inline downhill federation, Frank, which is existing already for a few years, and they deal with inline. And so we want still their people. And we have been on the same events a few times on the last 2 seasons. Considering trike, well, I would let the new members and board members to decide, but my opinion, because we had this debate actually in the French Federation, it's that it's not a skateboard or even a gravity, it's a bit like gravity bike. For me, it's outside of our scope, but that's a really personal point of view, and I would let the others express themselves about trike. What I feel is that we don't have the same speed and trajectories, and it could be a bit bothering during free rides, but that's really to be discussed, I guess.
Do they race?
I don't know if they race. They free ride a lot. We have lots of trikes in France and in Europe mainly. They are really agile. I don't know if they have a championship yet. In France, they didn't have, because they were numerous and organized enough. But
I
yeah,
mean, do they actually try to race? Or like, is that actually a thing? Like drift trike, it's kind of oxymoron. You drift to have fun. I didn't think you raced them, but
yeah, some people do, of course, and someone refined moment, which is the name of the people who is on YouTube, just say, yeah, they do race, so they seem to race.
Okay. My opinion is, I mean, probably people would expect my opinion, but it probably sits outside of our marketing scope. The more catch-all you get, it's sort of difficult to feed that story. Other people might think differently, and certainly the new board can discuss this as it's been discussed before. But broadly speaking, we haven't been in favour of it in the past. Going forward, we'll just have to see what the new board says.
We have one. We have one question, another question from Frank, saying, does the IDF allow general members to observe or participate regularly scheduled meetings other than the AGM? Yes, Frank, we've always been transparent on that. You just need to contact and say, hey, I'd like to attend. Because a meeting is not that easy to organize on Skype with more than 10 people, we limit the number of people who can participate. But it's a really open meeting, and during our 2 terms, we were really open on it. We will see with the next team, but I think they will be in the same line. This is my thought about it. Maga maybe was sure to be in the board. Members can comment because she has.
Oh yeah, it was cool. Of course, it's all about just arranging and just trying to fit the trend, unless we can do it through Google Hangouts, which will maybe allow us to join more people into the conversation.
No, it doesn't. No, it's the same sort of 10 that can really participate. People drop off there. But look, we publish our minutes for the most part. We provide the content of our meetings, and then people are obviously welcome to contact us about that, discuss that individually, or if we can fit them into a meeting, we try to do so. I don't know many organisations that do that. We're certainly one of the only ones in the world that does that, but we're happy to do it.
Each meeting we have several volunteers and people that aren't on the board participate. So just show some effort, and you'll be welcome into the meeting. No problem.
There's just a question from Carl. Certainly regarding his area of the world, which is throughout Asia, about restricting races. We do our best in terms of to create a tight flow on the world tour. Certainly there are more riders coming up in Asia. It's a developing area. It's an area that the IDF wants to and needs to be in. So as some areas go up and ebb and flow, others go down. And Asia is somewhere we're putting some focus on. So the more Asian races that present to us, the better. We'll always be looking to fit them in. Certainly within reason, within the scope of the time allocation we've given for the Asian events. So we'll certainly look to support that going forward.
In that respect, it gives advantages and disadvantages. Having a shorter season, we would love to have more events, but we have to make a tight schedule and have a good flow from place to place. So there's less backtracking, and it's less cost for our riders to travel the world.
I have one question from John Flexter on Facebook, actually, asking me, do we have or have considered an enhancement fund provided by sponsor considering their exposure via sponsored riders and general exposure? Well, I guess you're talking about crowdfunding somehow. No, we haven't worked on that so far. John has said before, we were really focused on trying to at least deliver races, timing, ranking, results. Just want to remember everybody that in the past when I was racing, we had to wait for a few weeks or months to get the results from the race you attended the day before, and rankings were kind of the same with about 8 weeks delay. So that's one thing we really wanted to improve. And I guess it wouldn't be acceptable anymore to have such a delay in between races and results, or having timing and stuff. And we've been really focusing and gave all our energy on that. I guess that now that it should be a bit more stabilized, we will be able for the new team to get on the important subjects such as financial and communication.
There's a couple of questions again on YouTube.
Well, we have comments. Have a minute, is he available? We have.
So Chris McBride is asking, are the minutes easily available?
They are on the website. We may have been a bit lazy on updating the last ones. That's a possibility. But they're supposed to be on the
we
website.
Haven't been publishing minutes for quite some months. It's a little difficult for us to do in an easy way, because often we discuss some sensitive things in meetings, and we can't just publish the minutes without editing
Cleaning
for
them.
those sensitive things. And yeah, it's just again a question of manpower and effort.
When he says sensitive, it's more, not that it's dramatically controversial, but some of those regard negotiations with events that haven't happened yet, or are in the middle of negotiations with events, which we'd prefer there was a delay on, in the sense that it's some of that's commercial in confidence, not so much just to us, but to the events we're discussing with. But we'll certainly endeavour to put as much information out as we can. In the last certainly couple of months, we've had weekly meetings. It's been quite the workload, but hopefully we can get that really tight going forward.
Yeah, just realized, that since we have a new website, our minutes are not available, or I can't find them, to be honest, on the website. But we'll put them back. I guess that if I have a little bit more time in the future, as I will step back, maybe I'll take some time to clean the past minutes and put them on our website, so that people can follow what is done. But yeah, just to understand, we have to clean a little bit what we say, because some are hard questions, and most of the time we finish late in the night for some of us, or early in the morning for some others, and we had meetings every week, so it's been a bit hard to do some of the extra work, like cleaning and publishing the minutes. But it wasn't a lack of transparency, but just a lack of time to do it. We'd like to be as transparent as possible, and maybe the most transparent federation in the world. That was my goal, actually. Any other?
We have one question, more of a comment really. Instead of from Longboard magazine, instead of targeting new regions, very important would be to get the existing riders stoked for racing again. So I guess that's asking or making the point that perhaps the existing generation of riders in places like North America and Europe are perhaps not going to as many races as they were, and what can we do to get them stoked for racing again?
I mean, that's probably an industry-wide issue, as much as it is the issue of the IDF. Certainly in skateboarding and in luging as well, I guess. There's some broad questions there about how marketing goes to grow that as a sport. I would never like to do that at the expense of new regions. Some of these new regions have been supporting the IDF and the industry for many years without having a representation of races and having accessibility for them. Certainly, I think it'd be a significant mistake to ignore a growing region. Certainly, we have to look back into our own backyard at where we came from and make sure that that doesn't fall by the wayside. And I'll certainly grant you that, but not at the expense of new developing regions. That's something we should always be sort of looking at.
Yeah, and Longboard magazine, who asked that question, made a follow-up comment to say that also we're seeing a huge generation shift. So focusing on younger generations might have better results in the long run. And I think that supports what you were just saying, Robbo, that that we need to focus on new people and new regions as much, if not more, than the older people who, I guess, go through a kind of natural attrition as they get older. They go to less races and perhaps drop out of the sport altogether.
So there's a subsequent question about IDF, about race entry fees. Now, we don't really control the budget of events. You've certainly seen some events that have fallen over because they haven't got the budget. Generally speaking, these events aren't making big money or often any money at all. So the race entry fee really represents what it costs them to put on the event. Whether we can bring that down, that's really an industry question. We don't really have control over national federations' budgets. So we hope they can come down, but that would require a bigger industry investment to do so.
Yeah, we have a question. Yeah, can I go? Yes, we have a question about the price of events. Someone is asking, big reason I hear for most people not attending events is the price of entry. People want to compete but can't do it when every event is $200 plus. Is there any chance of bringing entry fees down soon? There must be a big misunderstanding. The price you pay at the event, you pay to the organizer, and it's fixed by the organizer. The IDF has absolutely nothing to do with the amount that is asked to the riders. To be completely transparent, we ask the organizer to pay a sanctioning fee, which is $1,500 for World Cup and $500 only for WQS, and that's the only cost that the IDF is bringing to the organizers in exchange of bringing 2 people mostly on World Cups and 1 WQS when possible. So just to say, the amount of the fee on events is not something the IDF can do about. The only thing we can do is advising the organizer not to go too high, or maybe preventing some events, saying if you charge 300, for instance, we won't award you a World Cup event, a World Cup status. That's the only thing we can really do, I guess, about the price of events right now. But it's good. It's a good question, because maybe lots of people think that we are getting that money and we are the ones behind the organization of events, which is not the case, actually.
Yeah, thank you. There's a further question from Frank Williams asking, will the IDF ever consider dividing open downhill into amateur and pro classes? Saying that a number of amateur level riders I've talked to are intimidated when racing against the pros, and many lose their stoke when they get knocked out by the top tier riders in the first round or two, and that some therefore quit racing altogether. To answer that, yes, we have considered it quite a lot. We're still, I believe at this stage, not going to do it for 2017. We are focusing on things like race formats that give riders. Sorry, who's got their mic on? Is that you, Lee?
Lee.
Your mic off.
Thank you.
We are focusing on trying to implement race formats that allow, for instance, all the first round losers to then enter a separate bracket for just those first round losers. It's not a bracket that feeds back into the main bracket. It's just a bracket solely for the first round losers. And it's kind of, I guess, a sort of de facto amateur class. And it's possible that events could even award prize money or trophies or some sort of reward for winning that event. So again, amateur division, it's something we're still considering. There's a bit of an administrative overhead in terms of trying to keep track of who is an amateur and who is a pro and how people move between those divisions year upon year. So it's quite a lot of extra work for us, though I think with our new rankings database, it should be possible. So that's the current state.
One comment about maybe the pro and amateur. We were kind of agreeing about what to do this year, but we thought that it would be hard for the new team to handle all the existing things and get a new system, because it means changing the whole membership management, ranking system management, a few other tools, and it would require quite a lot of work. So we thought it was a bit too much for a new team to deal with, and that's why we didn't start it to implement it right now. But I guess that would come really soon in the future.
Yeah, it's in progression, I would say.
Yes, there was another question here from Steve Sutton, saying there was an IDF blog post that suggested the possibility of a Canadian WQS. Is this even likely to happen? If so, are any details available? I suppose that's a question for Lee, if he can answer it while driving.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier in the AGM. There's a race at Apex Mountain in near Penticton. So the schedule will be released tonight or tomorrow, I assume, pretty soon. And you can also look back in the early part of this AGM for that announcement.
And who is the organizer for that race, Lee?
Manu, who lives out in Penticton.
Radio. Well, that's fantastic news. We have another question from Professional Lurking, asking, what about double elimination formats? I think that's in reference to the pro and amateur question. Double elimination formats is something that I've got a lot of experience with in developing and running. We have done them before at quite a few IDF events. While I quite like them and think they're a good and fair way to do things, what I've found is that at least most of the top riders do not like them, really dislike the idea of people who can lose in the first round but then come back to go into the bracket at a later time and perhaps even win the event. And also it means that the top riders are having to race more rounds than they otherwise would. They're not always too happy about. And in general, I think the purpose of the double elimination is to give the slower riders extra race heats, and I think we can achieve that purpose by doing what I spoke about just before, which is having a separate bracket for the first round losers. It doesn't feed back into the main bracket, but it gives them a race in their own right that they can then go on and actually have a good chance of winning.
We have a question from Longboard. I don't pronounce things well, sorry. I've always thought that IDF races should incorporate a heavy, lightweight race class to attract those who don't want to be dominated by the overweight class on a certain course. Someone has something to say about that?
Well, again, that would be a difficult thing to manage in terms of who goes in what class and keeping track of it, and do we have a set of scales at the course to weigh people. But there's also the point that some tracks favor light people and some tracks favor heavy people. I guess it's true that most tracks favor heavier people, so there is a point. But you know, a lot of sports favor some body types over others. You don't find too many short basketball players or skinny weightlifters. So I think that's just one of those things.
Well, I remember.
It might make sense at a speed event like the Top Speed Challenge, where that, you know, that would make more sense. But I think in general head-to-head racing, it's too difficult.
Yeah, it would be very hard to manage on our side, of course, but just on the athlete side, I would say just remember Martin Zegrist, who wasn't famous for being a heavyweight and who's been dominating the whole circuit for a few years. Even Louis Piloni, for the Americans, friends, is a really lightweight and has done really better than most of us. So yeah, it's always a question, but to answer simply, it's really impossible to handle it right now. And even for the riders, I guess it would be hard to really handle, as they still have problems to register properly for the disciplines they want to at events. So handling weight issues, I just don't imagine it right now.
Yeah, look, another counterexample of light riders who are fast is Pat Switzer, who's not really a big guy and was fast on all courses. So.
But I think what we could say is we take an open mind when picking tracks, and we want a variety of tracks that can suit maybe a heavy rider, and some tracks that also suit light riders, like Burke Mountain last year was won by a light rider, and it was a really light rider course. So, you know, not all tracks are the same, and they're not all drafty and heavy guy tracks.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And Seven Curves in Brazil is another example of a track that really favors lighter guys.
Okay.
Oh, that's a really interesting question. From Frank Williams, what sort of compensation or benefits do the IDF board member receive? As a multiple non-profit board member, I understand it takes a lot of time, energy, and creates a lot of stress. Well, the answer is really simple. We get nothing apart from pride of being part of an organization such as the IDF. There is absolutely no salary, no payment, or what kind of any financial transaction for the IDF members. The only thing is the cost of flying and to events, and we give a per dime to the IDF representative during the event, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, $25 a day, so that the guy can find some food and somewhere to sleep outside of the events when he travels in between two events. So that's the only amount of money, and in most cases those 25 are not enough to cover your real expenses. I can say that by experience. So it mostly costs some money to the IDF board members to be IDF board members, because they will spend a little bit of their own money and won't be refunded on it, but they don't get a single euro, dollar, or whatever money you want to call it. That's clear. If we don't have any more questions, I would be in favor of closing this last AGM for me, and for most of us actually. We will still be available to answer questions after the live in the coming days on our Facebook page or wherever you want to contact us. Any final word from you guys?
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that's been involved over the years in the IDF. I've enjoyed my time on the board. I won't really be going too far away, in that I will be here for the incoming board to help out in whatever way is necessary. But thank you, everybody that's been involved. It's been good fun.
Mutual. Robo,
Yeah, thank you,
Megan.
guys. I just wanna say it again. Just thanks to you four that been for a long time with us and helping so much and putting so much of your time. I mean, it's a volunteer work. It's not so simple, but you guys put so much into it, and I hope the new board can bring you fresh ideas, fresh new experience, and we can still keep the relation and keep on working with you too.
Okay,
So thank you, Pat, too.
I think we have congratulated ourselves enough.
Yeah.
I'd like
Here's
to-
hoping for a good 2017.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pat.
I'd like to make one more mention that, of course, the IDF does the best job we possibly can on a world scale to offer racing. But of course, it always comes down to the community and pushing each other and bringing up the next generation ourselves. Organizing body cannot do everything, and we all need to pitch in and make sure the sport can live longer and have a great future. So thank you.
That would be the ending words, I guess. Thank you, everybody, and see you on Mars. Bye.
See you guys.
Ciao.